Welcome to AMPECO's EV Charging Expert Series. Each episode of this series features AMPECO's leadership team and industry experts sharing their knowledge on specific aspects of the EV charging business development. Hi everyone, my name is Petar. I'm the Head of Strategic Alliances, Regulatory Affairs and Sustainability. Today, we're diving into the brand new State of the Industry report produced by ChargeUp Europe, a deep and data-driven outlook into the state of EV charging infrastructure in the EU. This 2025 edition brings not only updated figures, but also new insights into use case evolution, business model viability, and policy gaps. All of that is based on deployment experiences provided by the members of ChargeUp Europe. I'm also happy to share that AMPECO was one of the key contributors to the report. But we're now very lucky to be joined by Lucie Mattera, Secretary General at ChargeUp Europe, and a well-respected voice in the EV charging community, I would say, going beyond Brussels. Lucie, welcome and congratulations on the report.
Thank you, Petar. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and to be discussing the report with you. And thank you, Petar, for AMPECO's insights to help us develop this good document.
What would you say is the biggest single most important message that the report sends to policymakers and industry stakeholders alike?
I think the first one is that electrification is here and it's here to stay, right? And you can really, despite the bumps on the road that you can find occasionally, the long-term trend towards electrification is extremely clear in Europe, even outside of Europe. And that I think is something that is good to keep in mind. Let's keep our eyes on the price, not get distracted by the short-term difficulties, because again, the long-term trend toward electrification is here to stay. That would be for, let's say, our demands on the side of EVs. On the side of EV charging, I think what we're seeing emerging from the report is really a picture of momentum, how much progress the industry has done, how much deployment has already taken place, both public and private. We're really stepping up to the plate, keeping up with EV uptake, and I think are being an integral part to this energy transition. The discussion around eMobility, the energy transition more broadly, that is facing some political headwinds today. Some of that is due to, bad news, factory closures, we're seeing that. Some of that is due to 2024 not being the best of year for EV registrations. And some of that is just plain misinformation or disinformation. And I think that's why it's so useful to have a product like the State of the Industry report, which is going to bring data, facts to inform better decision making, because there's some big discussion that are coming up on the pace of electrification, the kind of CO2 standards that car makers have to meet over the coming years. And you want to make sure that the discussion is driven by data points that are independent, well researched, to again make sure you make the best decision and stay on track. What we wanted to do is to cast a light on private charging in particular. That is something that policymakers tend to overlook. Private charging, it's not something that you see, right, in the street. So most people just pay attention to public charging. Oh, here is a charger on the street now, and I know what that is. Because private charging is not necessarily immediately visible for everyone. You can be in buildings, in depots, etc. People tend to forget it exists. But when I say people, I mean EU policymakers. And it's actually the backbone of EV charging across Europe. It's the vast majority of the infrastructure. So that's something we wanted to bring attention to. We wanted to show how active the industry is, developing new innovation, delivering benefits for companies, for users, for the grid. And AMPECO actually has a really nice case study in the report to illustrate really the innovation and the benefits that we're deploying. And maybe a last one, we more and more to make sure people understand all the dimensions of the discussion around eMobility. We like to show how our sector is contributing to Europe's energy security, energy resilience. And so we are trying, with the report to show how we're helping to integrate renewables, right, into the grid, how we're contributing to resilient electricity grid across Europe, how we're also helping Europe wean itself from oil export from third countries. So all of that contributes to a stronger Europe, a more resilient Europe in a geopolitical world that becomes more and more complex every day. We try to be a little bit concrete in the policy recommendations that can be shared to accelerate the rollout, but also bolster profitability, because that's of course a big discussion in our industry. Where there is fragmentation across the EU, we're trying to highlight that because of course that gets in the way of scaling, and we're still at the stage where many of our members are trying to scale, and it's difficult to do that when you have a picture of fragmentation across the EU. So that's one. We want to find the right balance with regulation. Regulation is good when it gives you predictability, right? A good framework under which you can essentially plan and make sure you have a stream of investment coming into the sector. So that's the kind of regulation that we like, the one that gives certainty and policy predictability and a horizon to the sector. At the same time, you want to make sure that the development of the sector remains market-driven, that we can deploy, the solution that we think our customers need. So something that doesn't stiffen innovation, doesn't hamper the ability of the sector to, as I said, to innovate. I think one area where we are seeing a big need for modernization is essentially energy regulation. Energy regulation has been around for decades, even more than that, even before the EV charging sector even emerged. And so we're dealing with a lot of legacy regulation from that time. Essentially, a regulation that hasn't really kept up with the pace of development in our sector and with what we need today to reap the full benefits of smart charging or other innovation like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the grid infrastructure has been a part of our bigger conversation here, because as we include all those new EV chargers, they have to be connected, and those procedures can take long. They can really slow down some of the rollout. And also the market itself, as you mentioned, there are some aspects in the market that have to be amended to be fit for this century. I can just quickly make a quick anecdote here about demand charges. For fast charging hubs, those demand charges can be a challenge. And Lucie, you probably don't know when those demand charges were actually invented. Can you take a guess?
I don't know. You tell me.
The 1890s. So, and I think those can be definitely modernized, and more generally, the permitting process can be handled way smoother so that CPOs can put up the right infrastructure at the right time. And indeed, when we look at different charging use cases, in the report, you cover a wide range of charging scenarios. You mentioned private charging altogether, but even more of a breakdown, looking at workplace, home, fleet depots, just to name a few. In your view, are current business models adapting quickly enough to remain viable across the board, or some of those segments are at risk of falling behind?
What we're trying to show in the report is that there's a broad range of use cases. And it's actually one of the things we have to explain the most to EU policymakers, right? Because they tend to think of, refueling, and refueling is pretty simple. You drive to the refueling station, you refuel, and then you leave, right? EV charging actually gives you more options, more possibilities. You can recharge when you're, doing your grocery shopping, or when you're at the gym club, or the restaurant, or you're at home, or you're at work, etc., etc. And we're essentially, through the report, trying to show the diversity of those options and the benefits that each one of them has. So sometimes you're more interested in speed, so you're just going to go, for speed along a highway, and that's what you need at this particular moment. But sometimes what you want to do is something different. You have time, and what you want is a cheap option, and therefore you're going to go for that. And I think it's good that the market is able to deliver all the solutions to different drivers who have different profiles, different needs, and that can also evolve during the day, during the week, during the months. And that diversity, I think, is something we should be proud of in the industry, because it's showing we're attentive to the needs of the drivers and making sure we have a range of options they can choose from based, as I said, on their needs at a specific point in time.
All right. And final thoughts. What would you encourage the EV charging ecosystem players reading the report to do differently starting tomorrow or even today?
You know what, Petar? I think we're doing pretty well as a sector, to be honest. I see a lot of innovation. I see, people sticking to an investment path that is very ambitious despite headwinds, despite uncertainty on demand. So I think sometimes we should give ourselves a little pat in the back and recognize that we're doing good work. Doing something differently, I don't know. There's a big conversation around reliability and making sure that when you're an EV driver, your experience is always good at any point in time, any charge point that you encounter. There's a lot of work that is ongoing in the industry to make sure that happens and that improves over time. And I think there's a lot of effort that go into that today, essentially ensuring as an EV driver your experience is perfectly seamless. We're not there yet fully today as a sector, but I'm really encouraged by all of the innovation, the initiatives, the efforts that all our members are putting into making that happen for the near future.
Awesome. I mean, bottom line, if we're talking about reliability, that means greater utilization, right? And that's where everyone should be looking into improving their results. With that, thank you again for walking us through some of the key themes of the report. Now, whether you're a policymaker, CPO, a city planner, a tech innovator, or consultant, the insights in this report really provide us all with a better view of where the charging market stands right now, and also what needs to happen to go from where we are to where we aim to be, and the long-term vision of Europe's decarbonization policies in transport. The report is available at the ChargeUp Europe's website, and I encourage everyone to go out, explore it, share it, keep the conversation going. All right. Until next time, everyone. Thanks again, Lucie.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Petar.